All right. So thank you guys so much for being here and welcome to this next webinar for the Multifamily Investor Nation. I'm your host. I'm your teacher today, Dan Handford, founder of the Multifamily Investor Nation. I'm also one of the managing partners of a group you'll see here on your screen called PassiveInvesting.com. And if you're interested in investing in apartment complexes, large apartment complexes, we invest in minimum 20 million or more across the Southeast, specifically concentrated here around the Carolinas. Then go to our website, PassiveInvesting.com. You can see it here. I'll also type it into the chat box for those of you who are on the webinar with us live. And for those of you who are watching the recording, it'll be in the comments or the description that is going to be inside or next to this video. And so when you go to our website here, you can find out a lot of information about our group, but you can also click on at the top right-hand corner, join the Passive Investing Club. And you can type in your information there, and I would be glad to jump on a phone call with you, discuss your investment goals to see if we're a good fit for you as far as your investing as well. So with all that said, let's go back to what we're going to be covering today, which is going to be steps to be organized to close more deals. So right now it's January 2020. A lot of people are getting ready for their acquisitions mode for the new year. The holidays are behind us, and because things typically slow down during the holidays, and we're kind of getting ready to ramp up for the new year of 2020. And so what I thought I would do today is do a webinar on how to be more organized. So I'm going to show you how to be organized to have better deal flow and organize your deal flow. I'm also going to help you keep track of all that deal flow as well by also showing you a software program that our group, PassiveInvesting.com, uses to track the deal flow. And it's not a very fancy tool, but it's a tool that we found that has helped us quite a bit. And it is not a software that's designed for this purpose, but it is a software that we've actually been able to customize and use for this purpose. And I'm going to give you a peek into that software so you can see how we used it in 2019 and how we structured things and put things together. So I'm going to give you that behind the scenes tour, if you will, for that 2019 deal flow. And then I'll also talk about a couple of other tools that we use to keep track of the deal flow and also to keep track of our investors and managing our investor database that we have right now as well. So with all that said, let's dive right in. My plan for today is for this to be about a 20 to 25 minute conversation, give or take, and then I'll open it up for questions and answers. So as you guys have questions, for those of you who are watching live, I would love for you to go ahead and type those into the chat box. Let's just use the chat box for now. I know in the past we've used the Q&A box, but let's just use the chat box, and that way we can keep track of all the questions that are coming in for this as well. And for those of you who have not done it yet, I would encourage you to go to the mfinsummit.com page and register for the summit coming up here in the next couple of days. This is January 14th, 2020 that we're recording this. And for those of you who have just joined us, I just typed into the chat box there, go to mfinsummit.com, use the promo code that's on your screen, and you will be able to have access to the webinar at a discounted price. So make sure you do that right now. For those of you who may be watching this after the event's over, you can still go to that mfinsummit.com, find out more information about the next MFIN Summit that's coming up, and that'll be coming up in June 2020. So make sure you mark your calendars for that. It's going to be, I believe, June 11th, 12th, and 13th. So it'll be a June 11th through the 13th, 2020. But you can go to MFIN Summit and register for that now. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this out, and we're gonna go through this thing here. And so for those of you who have joined us for the first time, I don't use a lot of PowerPoints. I just talk off of the bullet points that we have listed here. And then we'll go through some of the tools and things like that we're doing today as well. So obviously, when you start to get into the multifamily space, you can start to get a lot of deal flow. And I know some people will say, oh, I'm just not getting enough deals. Well, if you're not getting enough deals, go to our YouTube channel, search for a webinar on finding multifamily deals in a hot market or whatever, and you will be able to find some deals if you follow those steps in there to be able to get deals. But our group is getting deals all the time. Matter of fact, just today, we put 5 more deals into our deal flow list because there's been so much flow, especially the first part of the year. There's a national conference called the National Multifamily Housing Conference, which is one of the largest multifamily conferences in the country, and it's done throughout the country. Like last year was in San Diego. This year it's going to be in Orlando, Florida. So next week is actually that event. And so all three of our managing partners will be down in Orlando for that event. And so a lot of the brokers are there as well. And so they released a lot of their deals just before that event. And so we had a lot of deal flow coming out from those, because of it being a new year, and then releasing a lot of those deals to be able to get the deal flow started for 2020. So you should hopefully be getting a lot of deal flow coming through your desk. You should be culling out a lot of them as like deals that you're just not going to put in your spreadsheets or inside of this tracker that I'm going to show you. And that'll allow you to be able to, keep track of. But in order for you to know which ones to cull out, you have to know your criteria. So you have to know how to set your criteria for what you're going to be looking for in investing as you move forward. That's one of the important things that you have to do to be organized, because you can waste a lot of time by going and chasing projects and chasing deals that will never work for you and you never really wanted to look at. You're just kind of going, oh, I need a deal. And so you go on this like rabbit trail to try to find all these random deals, and you can lose track and you can get distracted. So you need to stay focused. And so make sure you have your criteria set, and any deal that comes through your email that doesn't fit your criteria, you immediately remove it from your deal flow list so it's not distracting you. And we probably get 100 to 150 deals a month that are sent through our emails, and we cherry pick very select ones that we want to look at that fit our criteria. And so it's not very many that we look at every single month as far as very specifically granular down to the underwriting. But once we get to that stage is when I'll show you that software that we're using as well. So what are some things we need to keep track of? Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and dive in to that software program that we're using, and that way you can actually see exactly what we're doing. So this is a software that we're using. It's actually a software called Airtable, and Airtable is a software program that allows you to have, it's basically a spreadsheet software. And so you can see here that we have all of the addresses and all these different things from different properties that we have actually underwritten. And you can actually see, look at this. So we have 3 deals here that are in this spreadsheet that are in the status of closed/1. And we have ones that are in properties to analyze, properties to consider, closed, lost. So you can kind of see all those, and then closed, declined. So the closed, declined ones, I'll just go through each one of these real quick. So these closed, declined ones are ones that they met our criteria, but once we put them into our system and we started to do some initial due diligence, we declined them for various reasons. And the nice thing about this software is that you can keep track of all those notes that you have on those properties as to why you declined them. So if in 2 or 3 or 4 years that deal comes back around to be sold again, you could pull your notes up and see exactly what happened on it. So I'm going to pull up this one right here called Main Street Square. This is one that we declined. And you can see in here our communication log on this particular one right here. So all the way out here. So this is Brandon Abbott is one of our managing partners, and he went in here and added this because he's keeping track of all the acquisitions, and he put it inside of this software for us. And so we created all these different fields within this software that allows us to keep track of things. Some of the fields we fill out on every single one of them, and some of them we don't. But the ones that we like to do are the ones that include like the market, the year built, the number of units, the address of the property. The offer due date is typically put in there as well, so we can keep track and prioritize based on the due date of the offer. Our underwriting model is put in there, and each time we have a different version of the underwriting, we put it in there as well. You can see that there's only one version of underwriting in this particular project because we only had to underwrite it one time to figure out the deal wasn't going to work. And then, of course, you can see we put the offering memorandum in there. We also put the T12, the rent roll documents, any of the tax documents from the tax records are all put in here. So again, it allows us to house all these documents in one place so that any partner that wants to look at this can do that. And then they also have an app for the phone as well. So you can actually download their app. It's very simple. It's just the Airtable app, and you can access all this information on the road. And what's nice about it from an acquisition standpoint is Brandon, when he's driving down the road, can take a picture with his phone of the property and upload them straight into Dropbox. not Dropbox, but it's straight into this Airtable software, which allows us to be able to keep track of these things. And of course, we have a subscription to CoStar, which I would highly encourage you to do. And if you are interested in CoStar and want a referral for that, please feel free to email me, dan@passiveinvesting.com. Would love to make an introduction to you to CoStar. They're also a sponsor for the MFIN Summit, and they do a lot of good things for us. But these are where we can attach the files, management pro forma documents, any other files, comp analysis, comp photos, CapEx files, the asking bid, our LOI, once we get to that phase, would be attached here. When the bid was submitted, when it closed, what was the interest rate on the loan, tour pics, which is what I mentioned earlier. And then, of course, our drone footage, so that when we get to the point of getting awarded the deal, our marketing team can have that drone footage to be able to create the actual videos that we want for it as well. And of course, there's some hidden fields that are in here as well, which just links to some other things, which are contacts and things like that. And let's see. And of course, we have our markets in here as well. And let's see, investor docs. That's not really part of it. But then you can see here on the right-hand side, these are the different comments that were put in here as well. So you can see as Brandon is adding these documents, they're putting into it. And then you can also see as we've pulled in our financial analyst, Danny asked the financial analyst that we have that works for us, can you pull together the first underwriting? And then Brandon is asking about Whisper. And so there's just communication that goes back and forth that we can have track of through the entire process. And so it really makes it very easy on here. One of the things you can see is that there is no notes actually here, which is a bit of a flaw on this particular one, which is good for you to see, but we typically put a reason into there as to why we declined the deal. And so on this one, we didn't actually have that. So it looks like the last few comments is the number from Danny to Brandon is the numbers are close, but need to confirm to ensure the deal works or does not. And Brandon says, okay, I'm scheduling a tour for the 13th or 14th. And then Brandon says, better make it the 14th since you're booked on the 13th with Ryan McKenna. And then Brandon is telling me, yeah, I have it set for the 14th. Well, what probably happened on that one is he went for the tour, came back to Danny and said, it's a no-go. We can't do this one. So typically we put notes in there so we know that, but we have all the data from before it's all just stored in here. This was done 8 months ago in 2019. So you can kind of see a lot of the different things that we have in here, but you can see the various, let me pull that one back up again. What you can see in here is that we have different statuses here, okay? And the statuses allow us to be able to know where they are. So you can see in here we have the status of properties to consider, properties to analyze, pending initial underwriting, pending tour, pending the full underwriting, pending the underwriting review, pending LOI, that letter of intent. Letter of intent has been submitted, and then pending best and final. So there's usually a best and final round. And then we have a best and final LOI submitted. And then, of course, PSA pending, which means we got the deal awarded. We're just negotiating the PSA and contract, a purchase and sale agreement with the seller. And then we're in the due diligence process or phase, raising capital, pending close, closed won, closed lost, and closed declined. And so those are the various statuses and stages that we've set up inside of our software, as well as the different pieces in here. And it allows us to be able to keep track of all of these in here. And you can see that all this data is in here, so we can actually see all of this. Okay. And another cool thing about this software, I'm not sure if it'll actually work, but let's see if it actually will. There's this thing called blocks. The blocks allow us to add in various things. And one of the things that we had in here before, which I don't know if I can find it right off the bat while we're doing the webinar here, let's do this and see if this will actually work. I think we had this set up so it would actually work. Let's see. Nope, it's not set up yet. So I do apologize for that, but let me see. Actually, it might be this one. Are you sure you want to overwrite? Continue, yes. So let's actually, what it's doing is it's taking the addresses for the properties that are in the system, and it is loading them inside of here. So it'll actually put pin drops on the various properties. So let me actually see if I can, I don't know if it's, I'm just gonna pull this over here and find these addresses and see if maybe it'll pop it on here. Full screen. Doesn't seem like it's working, but the way this is supposed to work is that you are supposed to be able to take the addresses, and they'll populate on a map so you can see exactly where they are in a particular market. So you can see if you're going to go drive a couple of properties, which one might be the most efficient to drive to, or be able to zoom straight in from this software into the Google Maps to be able to see exactly what you're looking at as far as the market and the surrounding area, and doing satellite tours and all that kind of good stuff as well. So was this helpful to kind of see? So if you think this was helpful, just type into the chat box, yes, 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 or just raise your hand and let me know. Was this helpful to kind of see our process and how we actually go through a software to be able to utilize a software that's not really designed for this kind of thing? Was that helpful? Good, good. Well, I hope that you guys will use this. It's not a very expensive piece of software. There are some other softwares out there that I've heard of that we don't use. There's one that's called dealpath.com, and it'll help you keep track of this stuff. It has everything already built out. It's a lot more expensive than this software, but it's another software that you can use. We looked into that software, but we feel like this software is just as beneficial to us. And we separated the deal flow around like that. So you can see here, we have our 2018 deal flow, the 2020 deal flow, the 2019 deal flow, and we even keep track of our investor relations in this software as well. I can't show you that because there's investor information inside of there. But inside of there, we keep track of all of our investors and their investments and how much, their equity is, and we pull all their PPM documents in there, and everything is filed away and secured so that anybody can access that at any time as far as the partnership is concerned. Obviously, we don't give access to that to anybody, but you can use this software for a lot of different reasons and a lot of different things. So, but I see that somebody was asking me about, does Airtable also act as your CRM for investors? And the answer to that is no. So there's actually another software that we use for our CRM, which is called Active Campaign. And Active Campaign is the one that we use to keep track of sending out the emails. We use that to keep track of our communications with investors. It has all their addresses in there, their phone numbers. It can also help us from text messaging the investors when we have a deal that comes out, emailing them. And then, of course, it houses their address. So we actually have a snail mail newsletter that we send out every single month to our investors. And in that snail mail newsletter, we basically download all the addresses from Active Campaign and actually push it out to our printer. They take that file from Active Campaign and actually push it out. So it says, what price level functionality is this? Ryan is asking here. There's a free, a plus, and a pro, and an enterprise. So we're actually using the pro, which is $20 a month, it looks like, from what Ryan is saying there. And so we are actually using the pro version of this. So we have lots of people on this software because we have several people that work for us. We have our 3 managing partners. We each have assistants, and we also have analyst and an asset manager and things like that. So there's multiple people that we have on it. But for you to be able to get started with it, it'd be really easy for you to do that. And if you want, I didn't even notice this, but I bet there's probably a way for me to give you a link to share. How about that? I don't even know where that stuff would be. Let's look inside here and see. Tell a friend. Look at that. So I can say, here's my link. I'll just type it in here. If y'all want to use this to sign up, feel free to do it. Didn't even know that, but I'll get a $10 credit for every person that I refer into Airtable. And I think that you might actually get a credit too. So feel free to go in there. Even if you sign up for a free account, I think I still get it too. I don't even know. But that's the software we use. It's called Airtable. I would highly encourage you to get it. And maybe one of these days I'll figure out a way to template this thing and provide it to you guys so you guys can just have that database available. So hopefully this was helpful to you to kind of help yourself get organized as you move forward. Because a lot of times what we were finding before we had this software is that, we didn't have one centralized place for all of our documents. And so it was very hard for us to kind of know, and also the communications of where we are in the process of that project. We'd have 5 or 6 different properties we were looking at, and we didn't know when the offer dates were. We didn't know where they were as far as like what stage of the process it was in. We can easily go into that software. And as you can see inside the software, if we look inside of this 2019 deal flow, right now I have it, done by, different stages. And so we have those close loss, close won, things like that. But then if you can go in here and you can also, sort it by deal stage. and you can sort it by active deals. You can sort it by property summaries and financing summaries and things like that. And you can also create your own like views for these as well. And that allows you to be able to see all of your properties and where they are in various stages at any given time. So hopefully that was helpful to you to be able to see that software and again, that other software. And so I just had another question coming in from Anthony again. Have you hit any storage limits on Airtable? And the question to that is yes, we have, which is why you see that we separate each one of our years and deal flow into a different, what is called a different base. Okay. So these different things are bases. And so each base has a certain storage limit. And so it is possible that you could increase to the point where you max out the storage limit on that base. And so you just create another base. And so you could even do it if you had a lot of deal flow that you were putting in there and a lot of content. You could actually do like a Q1 2020 and a Q2 2020 deal flow, kind of separate them into different bases. And once you create a base, the reason why this one says new is because it was actually duplicated from another one. So you just go in here and just say duplicate base. It'll take everything in there and put it into a new one. And it'll also allow you to, when you duplicate that, it'll actually, when you duplicate that base, it'll allow you, to remove all the content from the prior base. So you have a full, fresh spread, full, fresh and empty base as you move forward into your new year when you do that. So, well, that's all I had for today. Thank you guys so much for being attentive. Make sure if you haven't done so yet, that you go to the mfinsummit.com and register with us. And I know Vinit's asking, can you share an empty base with us? I will look into that, but I'm not sure if I am able to do that or not. Let me see what it says. Move base to another workspace. I'd have to be part of that space. I don't think that is actually a possibility to be able to do that. I know it says share, but that's to invite someone to be a part of this space. So I don't believe that is actually a possibility to do that. But if you find out that it is, shoot me an email. And if I can, I'll try to share it with you so you guys can use that for your own purposes. So anyway, hopefully this is helpful. Look to seeing you at the summit. Go to mfinsummit.com, register for it. And for those of you who have joined us, make sure that you go to the website to sign up for the summit. And on your screen right now, I'll type it in again so you can go there as we're finishing up and wrapping up. And you can use that promo code that's on your screen to get it at a discount and only available right now. So go there now. And again, look forward to seeing you this weekend at the Multifamily Investor Nation Summit. And then we'll also have another webinar coming up next week. And let me actually look up what the webinar next week is going to be. We already have it set up, and it's going to be on Monday. And we're going to be doing get this, on how to find apartment deals. So we're going to do one just next week on how to fill in this deal flow list that you've created with Airtable. And it's called How to Find Apartment Syndication Deals. So make sure you check your email for the replay for this recording, and you go to the webinar platform or the webinar page to be able to sign up for the next webinar. So when it actually gets created and is ready. So thank you so much for being here. Looking forward to seeing you later this weekend and also next week at the next Multifamily Investor Nation webinar.